When people think of New Jersey, what usually comes to mind is a quiet suburb, wide green parks, or small historic towns that feel calm and well kept. But behind that polished image lies a different reality, a patchwork of forgotten small towns, trapped in economic stagnation, structural poverty, and slow, steady decline. This isn't about extreme crime or total chaos. It's about a quiet kind of inequality, the kind that slips under the radar in a state often labeled as wealthy. New Jersey may be the second richest state in America, but take a closer look, and you'll find towns that look like they haven't changed since the 1980s. These are the 15 most isolated and struggling small towns in New Jersey, places that don't just need recognition, they need real change. At a glance, Dover might look like a lively small town. It's located in Morris County and sits just about an hour from New York City. But despite that strategic location, Dover hides a number of issues that land it on the list of New Jersey's worst small towns. One major factor is overcrowding. With an area of less than 6 square kilometers, Dover is home to more than 18,000 people. That puts serious strain on its infrastructure, schools, and public services. Even though it's not far from major economic hubs, intercity public transit is limited, especially for those without a private vehicle. The cost of living is 24% higher than the national average, yet the median household income is only around $65,000, far below the Morris County average of $120,000. Dover was once known for its 18th century iron mining roots, but after the heavy industry faded, the town has struggled to define a new direction. Phillipsburg is a small town nestled along the Delaware River, right on the border with Pennsylvania. It used to be a thriving hub for commerce and railroads in New Jersey, but today, it feels more like a shadow of its former self. A town stuck in economic decline, with high poverty levels and shrinking job opportunities. The median household income sits at just $56,000, significantly lower than the state average. At the same time, over 15% of the population lives below the poverty line, while the cost of living remains 10 to 12% higher than the national average. This makes financial stability a daily struggle for many residents. And while neighboring towns offer rail service to New York, Phillipsburg itself is not served by NJ Transit, leaving it relatively isolated in terms of transportation access. Pine Hill is located in Camden County, not far from urban centers like Camden and Philadelphia. But proximity doesn't always mean prosperity. In fact, Pine Hill has earned a reputation as a small town where quality of life continues to decline. The median household income is around $61,000, with poverty affecting about 13% of residents. While the cost of living is slightly lower than the state average, crime, especially theft and domestic violence, is a growing concern in a town of just about 10,000 people. The local economy is stagnant, with few good-paying job opportunities, and public amenities are limited. There's no real downtown to speak of, and much of the community's activity happens outside their own borders. Ironically, Pine Hill is home to Trump National Golf Club, a luxury course that stands in stark contrast to the financial realities of most local residents. Whitesboro isn't just another small, remote town in Cape May County. It was born from a bold vision. Founded in 1901 as a self-sufficient community for Black Americans, Whitesboro was backed by national figures like Booker T. Washington and Paul Laurence Dunbar. The mission was ambitious: to create a safe, self-governed space for African American families in the post-slavery era. But more than a century later, this town faces harsh realities. The average household income sits below $55,000, and access to jobs, healthcare, and public transportation remains extremely limited. There's no real downtown, and residents often need to travel outside the area just to meet their basic needs. Whitesboro was once a symbol of empowerment and hope. Today, it feels like a community left behind, quiet, underinvested, and increasingly pushed to the margins of New Jersey's social and economic map. Tuckerton may sit along New Jersey's coast, but don't expect the charm of a vibrant beach town. Instead, this small community deals with a mix of geographic isolation and economic stagnation. Once known as a key fishing port and maritime trade center, most of that legacy has faded into history. The median household income is around $67,000, slightly below the state average. But the bigger issue is the lack of stable local employment and a heavy reliance on seasonal tourism. Businesses tend to open only during the summer, and for the rest of the year, the town slows to a crawl. Public transportation is minimal, making mobility difficult for residents without cars. Tuckerton is home to the Tuckerton Seaport and Baymen's Museum, a historic attraction, but unfortunately, it hasn't been enough to revitalize the local economy in any significant way. Chesilhurst is a tiny town of around 1,500 residents, tucked away on the eastern edge of Camden County. It's only about 30 minutes from downtown Camden, but in every other sense, socially, economically, and infrastructurally, it feels much farther away. There's no active business district, no efficient public transportation, and barely any public amenities to support the community. The median household income is just $51,000, one of the lowest in the region. Unemployment is high, and most residents have to travel outside town to find work or access even basic services like healthcare. Chesilhurst does have a rich history. It was founded as an independent Black community in the early 20th century. But with minimal development and decades of neglect, the town now feels stuck in time, fighting to preserve its legacy while struggling to move forward. At first glance, Keansburg might look like a small coastal town with some tourist appeal. Sitting on the Raritan Bay and just an hour from New York City, it was once known as the working man's resort back in the 1920s. But today, Keansburg tells a very different story. The median household income is around $56,000, far below the Monmouth County average of nearly $100,000. The poverty rate hovers around 17%, and the town regularly faces issues with property crime and a lack of local job opportunities. Many buildings sit abandoned, and although the Keansburg amusement park still operates, it hasn't been enough to lift the town's economy. Keansburg is heavily dependent on summer tourism, but outside the peak season, it feels nearly lifeless. Quiet, neglected, and scattered with empty properties, this seaside town now struggles to stay afloat. Laurel Lake isn't even a formal town. It's an unincorporated community tucked away in rural Cumberland County. At first, it may seem peaceful, centered around a lake, but beneath the surface, Laurel Lake faces serious challenges: poverty, underfunded schools, and near-complete isolation. The median household income is just $46,000, well below the New Jersey average. more than 20% of residents live below the poverty line. With a population of around 2,900, it's a community without a real economic engine. It's not close enough to major cities, yet too underdeveloped to stand on its own. Roads are crumbling, public spaces are neglected, and there's no active public transit. For many residents, Laurel Lake is a beautiful place on the map, but a hard place to build a future. Salem is the oldest town in New Jersey, founded in 1675, but longevity hasn't guaranteed prosperity. Today, it's known less for its history and more for its economic decline, shrinking population, and struggling quality of life. With only about 4,800 residents, Salem has been losing population for over 2 decades. The median household income is just $31,000, and more than 35% of people live in poverty, more than double the national average. Even though it sits along the river and near old industrial routes, Salem lost direction when manufacturing collapsed. Now, many historic buildings sit empty, and access to jobs, healthcare, and education is limited. Ironically, this town was once a major trade hub. Today, it stands as a symbol of how neglect and underinvestment can erase centuries of promise. Egg Harbor City may have a name that sounds cheerful and full of promise, but behind that name lies the story of a small town working hard to adapt in the face of changing times. Nestled between Atlantic City and Hamilton, this town sits in a geographically strategic location, yet it's often overlooked in regional development plans. The median household income is around $48,000, and over 22% of residents live below the poverty line. Jobs in the area tend to be seasonal or located outside the city, meaning many residents must commute long distances just to make ends meet. Still, Egg Harbor City carries a strong cultural legacy, especially from its 19th century German immigrant roots. Today, the challenge is clear: how to reignite that community spirit through inclusive local investment and improved infrastructure. The potential is there. It just needs support to rise again. Port Norris is a small town rich in history, once known as a major oyster industry hub in New Jersey. But when that industry declined in the mid-20th century, the local economy struggled to stay afloat. With a population of just around 1,100 people, the median household income is about $39,000. Stable, local jobs are hard to come by, and many residents now travel to neighboring towns for work. Public infrastructure is limited, and community facilities are in need of serious upgrades. Yet, even with those challenges, Port Norris holds something valuable: a strong sense of identity and coastal heritage. If efforts are made to revitalize education, boost connectivity, and tap into its maritime past as a tourism asset, this small town could once again find its place on the map. Penns Grove sits along the Delaware River, a location that once made it a key player in South Jersey's industrial growth. But like many manufacturing towns, Penns Grove has struggled to adapt in the post-industrial era. The median household income is just $34,000, and around 30% of residents live below the poverty line. These numbers reflect serious economic challenges, but they don't tell the whole story. Beneath the statistics is a close-knit community still striving to hold on to its sense of purpose and identity. Penns Grove's biggest obstacle is the lack of opportunity in jobs, education, and public services. But with the right investments and long-term planning, This historic town has the potential to move from survival to revitalization. It's not a place that's lost. It's a place waiting for a fair chance to grow again. Millville was once a proud industrial town in New Jersey, renowned as a hub for glass production since the 19th century. But after the industry declined, Millville struggled to adapt, and since then, the city has faced ongoing social and economic setbacks. With a population of around 27,000, the median household income is just $52,000, and more than 22% of residents live below the poverty line. Many buildings in the downtown area sit empty, and crime, especially violent incidents and drug-related issues, remains a major concern. Despite some revitalization efforts through local art galleries and theaters, these cultural sparks haven't been able to tackle deeper structural problems, like underperforming schools and high unemployment. Sadly, a city that once helped define New Jersey's industrial identity is now caught in a cycle of economic stagnation. Wildwood is known as a lively beach town, famous for its iconic boardwalk and vibrant summer crowds. But behind the short bursts of excitement, Wildwood faces a tough reality. It's a seasonal town heavily dependent on tourism, and that dependency comes with serious downsides. The median household income is around $38,000, and over 25% of the population lives in poverty. Outside the peak summer months, the city transforms. Hotels close, jobs vanish, and the streets go quiet. Most local employment is temporary, making economic stability hard to achieve. Ironically, despite being a popular tourist destination, Wildwood has one of the highest unemployment rates in the region, along with a growing problem of vacant housing, properties that sit empty most of the year. With aging infrastructure and a lack of economic diversity, Wildwood is a town that comes alive briefly, but struggles the rest of the year. What looks glamorous in summer often hides a deeper, year-round crisis. Bridgeton tops the list of New Jersey's most troubled small towns, and the reasons are serious. It faces a combination of high poverty, deteriorating infrastructure, elevated crime rates, and an underfunded education system. With a population of around 25,000, the median household income is just $35,000, significantly below the state average. More than 30% of residents live below the poverty line, and Bridgeton reports the highest rate of violent crime in all of Cumberland County. It's a tough fall from grace for a town that was once a center of agriculture and food processing. Now, much of its downtown is vacant, and public amenities like parks and libraries are neglected. Bridgeton isn't just behind, it's a loud warning sign of systemic failure in small-town America. A community that once thrived is now calling out for long overdue investment and reform.